Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet's featured author. And today, she will be sharing to us what this book is all about, her as an author, and of course, what inspired her to write this book. So, yes, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Miss Retha Evans Ezell, author of the book Love leaps forward until death do we part. Time tilts backward. Hello, Retha. It's good
Hello,
to see you.
hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing well, doing well.
That's good to hear. All right, Retha. So, yes, this is the moment that we've been waiting for because, of course, it's now time to know more information about your book. But, of course, before we do that, Retha, we wanted to know who Miss Retha Evans Ezell is. So, yes, a little bit of self introduction.
Okay.
Hmm.
I am Retha Evans Ezell. I was married for 52 years, which is what the book
Wow.
includes. And
Mm.
I am recently widowed as a year, September 14th, 2023. And I continued to revise the book. My husband and I were revising it, and he entered into his eternal rest a
Oh,
before I finished, probably almost a year, maybe 6 to 9 months. And so was able to complete the book, which was really a blessing and a miracle. And thanks to Reader's Magnet, because they walked through that with me. And so we were trying to get it completed in December. However, he passed in September. And so
mm.
it's very important to me that I do what I need to do with the book.
Wow. So there's two
And
authors
yes,
who's, who did create this lovely book, which is you and
yes,
your husband.
yes. And
Wow. And
it,
mm-hmm.
excuse me, it has been
That's good.
dedicated to him. This is,
Wow.
I'm doing it with my 4 children.
Okay, Retha. And you know what, Retha? He must be very happy right now that, you have already fulfilled your dreams, which is sharing your creation to among as many people as possible. And thank you so much for sharing with Reader's Magnet as well. Thank you for that, Retha. Okay, and yes, Retha, we wanted to really know more information about the book. So, yes, can you share your journey as a writer and or is there any surprising things or initial sparks that led you to your book's creation? Like, how did it started? What's this book all about?
Well, from probably I was 18, I used to write a lot, and I enjoyed writing, but I enjoyed poetry. And
Mm.
I thought I would maybe one day write a book of poems. However, I didn't. I included poems in the book that I did write, which relate to the stories and the experiences that I've had. And so I did fulfill a portion of that. And also, I was always giving people experiences and things that had happened in our marriage and our life. And so I was talking to my daughter in law one day, and I was just going on and on. And she said, "Write it down, write it down." And so I started writing it down. And thus came Love Leaps Forward. And as far as the interest, anything that sparked it, I think mostly experiences in my life that I had already been writing down. And so after writing those things down, I just put them somehow, they evolved into a book form. And I did the first edition in 2014.
Wow. So this is already the second edition,
This is a revised, actually.
revised edition. Uh-huh. Okay,
Yes.
wow. Wow, that's amazing, Retha. So you mentioned earlier, Retha, that this book of yours talks about, the about marriage, about your experience with your husband. So can you tell us more about that?
Yes, it talks about uh, we were fourth grade when we first knew each other, and from that, we
Wow.
went to high school, and from high school, we eventually became married, and
Mm-hmm.
as I said, have 4 children. But the journey that we went through from uh, fourth grade throughout middle school, all of those things are touched upon, and they give experiences that other persons, teenagers, they get a lot of times into some of the things that we did. And then as you go on in marriage, there are a lot of things that happen in life. There are sick,
Mm-hmm.
financial, all of those things that are in your vows, they are real. And so they happen. And so I talk about how we face those and how we were able to sort of manage our lives in spite of
Mm-hmm.
those. And even in the face of loss, sickness, death, even I hadn't, that was not there at that time, but it is now. So I did
Mm-hmm.
uh, talk about that some in my book. And so,
Right. Wow.
so it's mostly experiences, miracles that happened, things that happened, just the good things. There are challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
also in the revised book, with the help of Reader's Magnet, I was able to add an appendix, which is one of the things that, and that's another question, but it's one of the things that readers told me they liked, they enjoyed the book, but they wanted a discussion section. So I added that appendix to include some thought provoking questions and to give some wisdom and information that they might use just every day in their marriage. And so
Mm-hmm.
that it was a great, I think, improvement on the book. And you can use them for small group discussions.
Wow. Wow, that this is so amazing, Retha. And you know what, Retha? I like how you also mentioned earlier that you've been getting a lot of positive feedback already from the, people who already read your book. Now, can you also share to us, maybe you have like, what is your favorite line or theme from your book? And let's say, how does your background or your personal experiences influence or advocate for the causes, agendas, or message in your book?
Well, if I were to give a favorite line, it's the long line. And it, for me, is just accepting Jesus Christ in our lives. We were working in our marriage before, but until we came into a relationship and got into a place where we were sort of spirit minded, things seemed to work a lot better. And so I
Mm-hmm.
guess it would be Jesus Christ, who is Son of the living God, is still alive and well,
Mm-hmm.
even in the world today. And he's still working signs and wonders through his spirit, and so there are so many small things that we take for granted and we don't see them as miracles, but they are. And so we sort of took hold to that in our marriage. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's probably of the things that I would say, how it can help you in your marriage. And the fact that even before that, the communication talk that you have to have in any relationship. And so those things are major to me. One of the things that I think that worked most for us, we were always able, people say communicate, but I say we just really talked. And so that helped a lot.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Retha. And you know what, Retha? I really like how you also highlighted in this book that it's not just about marriage, but it's about keeping God within your marriage, having faith
Yes.
to Him, having trust. I mean,
Yes.
wow. And that's one of the most important thing that you have to have in a relationship. You
Yes.
know, the relationship you had with your partner as well as the relationship you have with God.
Yes,
You know,
and that's key. And there may be some persons who may not know God, but even if they come to a place where they can talk and communicate with each other over time, that may even come. So it's a matter of just knowing that no matter what, I want my marriage to work. You know. So
right, exactly. Now, Retha, knowing that this book of yours is really such a, successful creation because again, you've been getting a lot of positive feedback, good reviews. Now, there must be some emotional triggers as well, right now that
yes,
are
yes,
like. Yeah.
Yes,
Well, part of the book, let's say, did you feel was the most challenging and hardest scene to write, or like right now, because it's bringing a lot of, it brings back a lot of memories. The
yes.
one that you had with your husband, who's already with God right now. I mean, yeah. Are there any emotional triggers, and how did you handle it? What's the most challenging part?
That was the most challenging part was because he was terminal ill, so I had to write at that time. But it was still enjoyable because I have a chair next to me now that he would sit in and just, encourage me, say, "Oh, you'll make it. You can finish," And so that was challenging once he was gone, and I still had to continue the work, and
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that we had planned to finish it together. And even now, as I do an interview, the first interview that is on my website, we did it together. And so it is sort of those emotional triggers, but then it's a blessing because I know that he would be excited. He was one of those who was excited about everything. So he would be very excited. And I'm sure, even knowing now that I'm doing this, it is a blessing. And I'm sure that in spite of all of the sometimes the loss, I still can see the blessing in it. And then
Wow.
others. Uh, the one thing I think that you said was the positive feedback. And that
Mm-hmm.
was one of the things that touched me more than anything was I put a book in one of my neighbors' mailbox. And 2 years before, she had a stroke. And she was not able to read a book, or she would get confused. And so she was an English teacher and loved to read, so she would just put books down, and she hadn't read in almost 2 years a book. And she called me and said, "Hey, I had a miracle happen and didn't even know it." She said, "I read your book all the way through, and I didn't go back over into the paragraphs." And she said, "I finished it." And
Wow.
so that was just a blessing to me to know that she was able to pick up a book and read it again and finish it. So that was very positive and something that was let me know that it is transformative and that God does work miracles that I already
Yes. Mm-hmm. You did. Really. And you know what? It's actually one of the strength that could, that we can tell that, hey, these are also the things that keeps me going. And you know
Yes,
what, Rita? Yes. And you know, Rita, the good thing about your book, because it's not just about highlighting your experience, sharing your experience, but at the same time, your book is really advocating for a specific cause and agenda. These kinds
yes,
of topics right now, let's say talking about the challenges or difficulties about marriage, honor and respect your partner, on how to handle a lot of things when it comes to
yes,
marriage.
yes,
It's a guide. It's actually a guide, on teaching people how to be strong, how to handle stuff. And wow, this is very valuable in all aspects in life, even if those,
yes,
people right now who's not into married yet, but hey, this is already a guide, to being ahead and to at least learn a lot of things when it comes to these kinds of topics, talks about marriage. And wow, this is very helpful, Retha.
yes. And even
Mm.
singles have, because
Exactly.
there are stories about teenagers and marriage and all of the things that happen in life. It's really not only about marriage, it's about life. It really is.
Hmm.
And relationships. Yeah. Even if
Exactly.
you're not married, you experience some of the same things in life.
Hmm. Especially when it talks about relationship and how to handle the other person. So yeah.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is really such a great help, Retha. So yes, Retha, before we end this session, is there any message that you'd like to to tell to our viewers out there, or who would like to also read your book?
Well, I just want them to enjoy the book, and not just to have a book, but to just have an experience.
Mhm.
And even just to go down memory lane, just thinking of your own marriage. What are some of the things? And also there's a section called Quick Check, and it's ask questions for the Q. It's understanding, be understanding. Then the I is face issues, and the C is face challenges, and then the K is keep the faith. So the one thing I would say is keep the faith.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Retha. So, yes, for our viewers out there, if you're interested to have Retha's book, I'd like to inform you that this book is available in Amazon.com, Barnes& Noble, and also on Reader's Magnet's bookstore. And of course, please do check Retha's website. That's www.timetiltsbackward.com. Thank you so much for that, Retha. And yes, also on behalf of Reader's Magnet, Retha, thank you so much for taking us with your journey. And wow, it is such an honor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Retha. And yes, everyone, for our viewers, this is our author, Miss Retha Evans Ezell, author of the book Love Leaps Forward Until Death Do We Part. Time Tilts Backward. Thank you so much, Retha. And
Thank
yes, of
you,
course,
Reader's Magnet.
thank you. We love you. Thank you so much, Retha. And yes, as we say to you in Rita's Magnet, we share your story with the world.